lovely people. Hi. Back so soon. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. So, I'm back so soon, and I have this topic that I was really so interested in and so excited for. And this is my second video from my chakras themed readings, and today we are exploring another interesting topic. As you can see in this delicious red, it is the time for root chakra. Yeah. So, okay, let me explain my intentions for you for this reading, before I break down the reading and stuff. So, my intention in this reading is for it to be a new way to look at your childhood home, or even your favorite home growing up, however that home looks to you, and to see this home in a new and more positive light. Because I know we tend to remember all the ugly and sad moments more than anything in this life, and we grow to practice, learn more about gratitude instead of focusing on disappointments, I guess. And we make the most out of the experiences we go through, the ones we prefer or the ones that makes us smile and love. So when I found myself craving stability, safety, and peace in my life, I was inspired to look back at my childhood home. And I started working on my memories and the impact it had on me. And I started writing a letter to my childhood home. And I expressed to it all my feelings like my most trusted friend. All my sadness and anger, my fears, my happiness, my love, my all significant times, my gratitude, my appreciation, my wishes back then and desires now, all of it. Because that apartment held me as a child so lovingly, and I was so lucky enough to experience the good and warm moments in there. So that was so healing in ways I never thought possible. This reading is just one small part of how I want to make that possible for other people. Please take it in the most positive light, in your own capacity, of course. However that home looks to you, just think of that one place it made the most impact on you and who you are now, and pick that house based on your feelings towards the home you're thinking about now. So the reading sections are going to be about 3 parts, of course. So part number 1 that I'm going to explore today in this reading is, what is your favorite spot or favorite room in that house you're thinking of wants to say to you. So think of it like you're talking to the walls, and the walls can talk to you, talk back to you. And part number 2 is going to be how or what the house you're thinking of, or your childhood home, see you now and how you turned out to be, like how are you now as a grown up person, and how the house is looking at you and how they see you. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm trying to organize my thoughts, to be honest. Part 3 is going to be how or by what your house wants you to remember it, like when you look back at that house, how it wants you to remember it, what kind of memories or energy. So yeah, that's basically the reading. And pick the house and trust yourself choosing, and I will meet you there. Okay, so apologies are must here. Okay, group 1, I really apologize. And when I said your pile was your pile was so quiet, I didn't mean I did not mean to shove the microphone up my ass and you couldn't hear anything. But we're here, and well, for pile 2, I shoved it in my mouth, so things are mixing. Okay, I'm sorry, but the reading is really priceless, and yeah, continue hearing them. I'm really sorry.
Hi, Group 1. I feel so quiet here, and maybe that's how your childhood home or favorite home growing up was like. Everything was quiet, and that's how it needed to be. So that's the first vibe that I'm picking up here. So let's go to the first section, which is what your favorite spot or room in your childhood home wants to say to you. And this is very interesting, and I so love this energy. It wants to say to you that that room or spot was the place for you to daydream, and you did that a lot. And you dreamt of options and choices in life, even unlimited ones. You dreamt of popularity in life, to be known, and you dreamt of hope, faith, and you dreamt of, it's a fantasy. You dreamt of a life where it is both in the clouds and in the water. That's how I feel. And your favorite spot or room wants to say to you that it was your place to feel all your feelings and to think all your thoughts. It was the place for you to dissociate, to escape the world, and to also ground yourself there. And your favorite spot or room wants to say to you that this is exactly why it was designed for you to have all of this, to dream, to feel, to think, to, fly really high, and to also stay put and to be grounded more. And it wants you to know that everything happened there is kept secret and it is protected, because that spot or that room or that space really, really protected you, especially when you are scared and when you are overwhelmed. It kept all your dreams alive, and it's still there. And the energy you put there are still there, and it is as strong as ever. It wants you to know that this room or this spot is so lucky and grateful that you picked it and you trusted it that much, and it really appreciates you. And yeah, it feels like this room or this spot is very protective of you and really, really, really loves you and loves all your dreams, big or small, crazy or normal, however you want to describe it. Although I don't really like to label these things, but yeah, yeah. So, next section is how your favorite home growing up or your childhood home sees you now. You have changed, but not your core. You changed your place, your location. You traveled, you moved in life a lot, and you explored, and you were brave enough to take risks, and you really, really experienced a lot in your life, and it shows, because you are no longer the child that dreams and dreams and dreams, but you are also now a person who dreams and take actions and go for it, and you are capable now of doing that. And yeah, that's amazing, and that's great, and it's a lot. It's not easy to be this person. It's not easy to go through life with this much of courage, to leave things behind and to find better ones and to explore new ones and to have the full experience of you. And you did that. You are a person who is never boring, and you've never been that. You've never been that person. And your childhood home sees that. And I think that's the most favorite parts about you. That you are so youthful and you are full of life. And even if your childhood home was so quiet and boring, sometimes you were never boring or quiet. Your mind was always dreaming and racing, and your emotions were always high, and your dreams were so big. And that's how you are right now. You are not afraid to start over. Maybe that was something triggering you in the past, but now you're not afraid that much to start over, to go places, to move forward in life, and to explore better options, to turn the leaf, you know, and to start a new chapter. And you are in more quiet place now, but not externally. I feel like it's internally, and that's so great, and that's so big and important. The next part is how your childhood home wants you to remember it now. It wants you to remember it by faith and not by the ghosts of what could have or should have or would have been. You know? It wants you to remember it by the same faith that you had in yourself when you were in your own space, in your favorite spots and rooms. The same energy, the same hope wants you to remember it by remembering yourself and your intentions from the beginning, by your true connection to yourself at that time. He wants you to remember it by always remembering this part of you that was always hopeful and trusting. All it wants you to remember it by is remembering who you were as a child. You were a person who held a lot of great hopes and dreams, and you had faith in them most of the times, at least. And that's exactly what your childhood home wants you to remember it by. A place where you were true to yourself and you had a lot of faith in the world and in yourself. He wants you to remember it by acknowledging the parts of you that they were almost faded, the parts that you forget, and that's when you also forget those parts in your home. You forget parts of you in that home, and your childhood home wants you to remember those parts, both in yourself and in your home. And those parts are most likely to be ones that are filled with love and faith, and powerful faith, not any faith. I feel like faith is a really theme here for you. The magic you felt inside of you when you were there. So I hope this reading resonates with you, helps you in any kind of way, and connects with you on a deep level that makes you really healed and helps you grow. So thank you for being here, and yeah, I appreciate you.
Hello, group 2. If you picked the second house, you're in the right place. So, this, oh my god. Okay, this group is a little bit tricky, and I need to understand the energy more before I channel. And sometimes while I'm channeling, I really don't know what I'm saying. Okay, so you can help me by connecting the dots. When something is not clicking, I just hope you can figure it out or leave it for someone else if that is not your story. And I hope you take this reading in a positive light. And if this reading triggers you in any kind of way, I recommend to not be triggered and choose to do something that is not triggering you. Okay? Anyways, so let's start with the first section of your reading. What does your favorite spot or favorite room in your childhood home wants to say to you at this time? It wants you to know that this room or spot saw you in the duality of feelings, the contrast, I guess, struggling between remaining positive and optimistic, and the fact that you are in despair sometimes or often when you are in that room, feeling like there's no way change is gonna come in this situation. Things were so challenging, and mentally and emotionally it has been a constant struggle for you, especially when you are in that room. So I feel like this room or place knows that you always or usually go there because you need a space where you can be the things you can't in other places. And those things are usually the parts of you that are fearful and confused and disappointed. And sometimes this room really wanted to protect you from the energies that you did not know how to handle when you were so little. The energies that made you feel like you are not going to be accepted for who you are, and the way you feel right now isn't normal, and the way you feel right now is just you need to figure it out because this is not it. And you felt constantly like you needed to work on these feelings and the way you think and the way you feel all the time, and most of the times you did not really know what to do with them. And I think this room knows that you picked up on some habits or behaviors or coping mechanism that did not really that were helpful to you, but you wouldn't really need them if you weren't in that position in the first place. And it wants you to know that that room or space knows that you really wanted to escape and to be alone when you are there. And that spot or room wanted for you to be alone and to have the safe space to be there. It wanted you to know that it will always welcome you in your most chaotic energies and states. It wanted you to know that it was so okay for you to make mistakes and to feel all the feelings that comes after, that come after the mistake itself. It wanted you to know that the beautiful duality in you when you are so in despair and you feel like this is it and I am helpless and I am powerless against the world, against myself and my inner struggles or my inner triggers, and between the other part of you where you also see hope and you see a little bit of faith in yourself and in the world. And even if those moments were so little and you felt like they were taking away from you, that room or spot still holds all of these energies for you. You can come back to them anytime you want, in your memories or physically if that's possible. That room holds the two energies that you always bring there. The two energies that are really different from each other, but the glue that sticks them together was you, and they all made sense. And that spot or room is really it feels so dear in that spot. It feels so sacred in that place because it was yours. And even when you feel the lowest, you were you, and you were experiencing you in those situations, and that was the most important thing. And even if your time was short in that space, you experienced yourself there, and that is something. That is something to remember. That is something significant. And yeah, I feel like there is a lot to unpack here. But this is very small part of what this spot or room wants you to know. There's a lot to unpack, and there's a lot this room or spot wants to say to you. So much more than you've ever thought. This room is still holding on to all of those feelings and thoughts and situations that you perceive now as negative, as powerless. This room knows that you felt like you will never get your freedom, and you thought for so long that even if you dream and tried so hard to imagine a better future where you are free and liberated from everything was going on there, it knows that you needed a place to hold these things for you, hold these energies and dreams and desires and wishes, and that room was it. So even though you felt like no one was listening and that was lost and it was just time you expressed yourself and moved on from it, that room still holds everything about you at those moments, especially the moments where you felt the lowest. And it is very special. That bond is special. So let's move on to seeing you growing up right now and how you turned out to be. What would your childhood home wants to say to you? First of all, it's so proud of you because you are a person who never ever give up, and that's why you're here, because you never give up. And while I say that, you look to this childhood home like the most tall, strong, spiritual figure and the most knowledgeable version of yourself right now. You really went through the terrible times, if you want to call them that, you turned something so helpless into hope, and you figure it out. Even if you don't see yourself that way, your childhood home sees you now as a teacher, and whatever you are teaching right now, it is so powerful, because you've learned that you were the student in all those situations, and every ups and downs, and in the most sad and upsetting circumstances, you've turned out to be a person who guide and advise, and in you using your past in the way that can help others. So everything you've learned and you're still learning is how you are wishing that someone was there for you, but you are there for yourself, and that's how your childhood home sees you, because you grew up to be that mentor and that safe space and that guiding light you ever needed. And yeah, that's exactly what you're doing right now. You are helping yourself and helping others, and that's so special and so positive. And I think, looking back at what your energies were in your favorite rooms or favorite spots, you never thought you would be here today, and you never thought that you can carry so much hope and optimism in your journey. But here you are. Looking at you now is a proof that you can always choose something big for yourself. And maybe that choice was just being more spiritual, connecting with your soul, and learning more about spirituality. Maybe that what helped you and still helping you. Any choice that you chose was perfect, because it led you here. It is so special, and yeah, you're very grounded and stable and secure in yourself, in your practice, in your craft, in your spirituality, and mentally. It's not all perfect, but it's so okay, and it's so good, and it's better than ever. And you are providing that to others, and even if you don't feel it sometimes in yourself, you provide that to yourself and to others, and it is so big, and it is so important and so valuable. That's how your childhood home sees you right now. So how it wants you to remember it. It wants you to remember all the moments you indulged yourself. You knew when to enjoy the good times. It wants you to remember quite the opposite of what you remember right now. The parts where you were facing yourself, facing your circumstances, and you were courageous even when you thought you were not. And this childhood house or home wants you to remember it by the way it accepted you. It wants you to accept everything about that house the way it is, and to face those parts where you can't even look at them without being triggered, the parts of yourself more than the memories in that house, because that house is still holding both the negative and the positive ones. It holds all the circumstances, the good and the bad. It holds everything that is light and darkness. So it wants you to remember it that way and not get lost in the powerless and helpless and the struggles and the way you felt like nothing is gonna change and you've always been disappointed and everything was just so hurtful. It wants you to remember that even though things were the way they were, you maybe forgot that you were holding a great hope in that house, and you had beliefs and you had faith, and it wants you to remember those. So it wants you to remember it by remember that it was always both. It wants you to remember also the it wants you to remember all the experiences. Yeah, even the moments where you were connected to your sensual parts, or the thoughts of them, or the thoughts in general and sensuality. It wants you to remember those, but not in the way you used to, because I think you used to remember it in a very negative or fearful way, or maybe a little bit of shame and guilt, or maybe you felt like you were not supposed to be there. You were not supposed to think those thoughts and to feel those feelings. But it really wants you to remember the feeling of affection and the natural flow of yourself, the love that is behind all these feelings and thoughts. Yeah, it wants you to remember those two. Yeah, it wants you to remember it by letting go of all your perception of that house and really look at the truth of things and use your creativity to connect with that place when you remember it. Use all your expressions and use all your senses. Yeah, it wants you to use all your senses when you remember that house. And that was the message for you today. Thank you for being here, and I hope you connect with your childhood home, and I hope you heal, and yeah, that's what I hope for you. So thank you, and yeah, bye. Hello, group 3. If you picked the 3rd house, this is your reading, and I'm here to channel your childhood home for you. So I just want to say that I love your energy, and I love the energy, whether it is heavy, a bit things that I don't prefer for anybody to experience, but I still love it, and let's get to it. First section is, what does your favorite spot or room wants to say to you? So in your childhood home, of course, you had a place that you liked the most, or a room that you found yourself always pulled toward, I guess. So this is the message that room or spot wants to say to you right now. This place that you're thinking of right now saw you in the most difficult circumstances, whether that was you struggling financially in your family, or whether it was the whole function or dynamic in that household. And it wants you to know that you recognize all your independency. Is that a word? I don't know. But you were a person who is very reliable and very responsible and caring and grounded for others. You were the person who carried a lot of weight that is not necessarily your responsibility, but you did it, and you did it well. And that room wants you to know that, you did all that by yourself. You carried all these things alone, and that room witnessed you feeling like you were abandoned, or feeling like you are alone, or feeling hurt or betrayed by someone close to you. That room feels your feelings, and you were the person who was always a helping hand. And maybe you weren't that child who asks for help a lot, because you were the one giving others your helping hand, and that room or spot witnessed all that. And you were a person who struggled a lot to be grounded and be stable, and this is not necessarily to remind you of the sad parts and feelings, but it is encouraging you to look at yourself from a different perspective in the past. And it is true that you were holding the world of your reality in your hand, and you felt like you need to step up, and you felt like you need to be that person that is so independent and can take care of themselves and others, and to be the tree of the house, I guess. And that room knows that much about you, that you have all those qualities. You are resilient, and you are determined, and you are so loving and caring. And that room wants to say that those circumstances, they were difficult, but you nailed it in the best way possible. And that room witnessed that, and it is so proud of you, to say the least. I feel like you know, and you know. So the second section or parts of your reading is seeing you growing up now and how you turned out to be. What's your childhood home would like to say about that? Well, first of all, it wants to congratulate you because you are very great. You are the greatest. You are a person who deserves all the credits, all of it, and especially from yourself, and especially from your childhood home, because it witnessed you growing up, knowing that you will be that person, and you are that person. And it wants you to know that you've always been a soul that can achieve a lot. You can achieve everything you want, anything and everything. You were so patient looking at your circumstances back then, and your childhood home is very, not surprised, but so very proud and like in awe, I guess. Looking at you now is going to be a privilege to look at. And it wants you to know that you deserve all the support system. You deserve people to be helping you all around the world. You deserve people to love and care for you the way you love and care for others. It wishes for you to have reliable support system more than ever, more than in the past, where you were the one who is supportive all along. And you are amazing, and you are awesome, and you are so cool. So that's how your childhood home sees you now. And it wants you to know that not only that you deserve recognition and credits, but you also deserve your flowers, I guess. And yeah, continue to be you, because you are so perfect the way you are. You have all the hope and faith in yourself and in the world, and even when you don't, your childhood home saw you in the most helpless situations, and you were that light and hope to others and to that house and to the people around you. So never doubt yourself in that area. Never doubt yourself in anything at all. So third part, or the last one, is how it wants you to remember it. Your childhood home. How does it want you to remember it? It wants you to not remember the moments of rejection. It wants you to not remember being rejected. And it wants you to never reject it when you look back at that house. It wants you to know that house did its best to hold you and to ground you and to protect you in the best way it can. And that's exactly what it wants you to remember it by, that it was a place that you grew tall and strong there. It might be difficult to not remember the miserable parts of your childhood in that house, but all it wants for you to remember it by is the determination of living, the way that house stayed, I guess. That house really tried its best to serve, It wants you to remember it by remembering your determination. When you think of your quality of resilience and determination, that house wants you to remember it by that too, because it witnessed all of that and it had the pleasure to. It wants you to not reject those parts of you now. So when you think of your childhood in that house, it wants you to never reject the bad moments, because not only that you overcome or overcame these obstacles, you also connected to the most powerful parts of you. In your despair and the lowest moments, you found your own strength, and that's how it wants you to remember it by. So yeah. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and I hope it helps you in any kind of way. Thank you for being here, and have a great day or night. Bye.